Welcome back, everyone. Today we are interviewing Cheryl McColgan for our Creative Side Businesses for Women Summit. So, welcome, Cheryl. Good to have you here.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to chat.
Mhm. For those of you who've never met Cheryl, she is an author and the founder and editor of Heal, Nourish, Grow, an ultimate wellness, healthy lifestyle, and advanced nutrition site. She helps others develop the confidence and habits to create lasting change and greater health by sharing her wealth of knowledge. She's got over 25 years of experience in psychology and addictions and studies and fitness and nutrition and yoga, meditation, overall health and wellness. She actually has two books now on Amazon, which both have to do with keto diet and how to lose weight. So you are also featured chef for the August 2021 U.S. Wellness Meets. Now, what is the U.S. Wellness Meets? I've never heard of that. What is that?
Actually, I love their brand because what they do is they focus on working with local ranchers so that everything's grass fed, grass finished, which gives the meat theoretically like a much better fat profile. Like there's too much PUFAs is not good. And so whenever cattle are fed grain and corn and things that they were not meant to be eating, their fat profile changes a lot. So getting the grass fed meat when you can definitely help be a healthier choice. And so that's what their brand is all focused on. They work with local ranchers and they get like the best grass fed meat and organs that any can find anywhere, and you can order it online, which is even better.
Nice. That is nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And your recipes have even been featured by like local news and Kevin's Natural Foods, Serious Foodie, a whole bunch of them. My goodness, there's a long list here. And you're also a frequent speaker at keto and wellness events. So that's cool. So I've got lots to learn from you today. And you are talking to us about why physical and mental health is critical to entrepreneurs. So why don't you start by telling us a little bit about your businesses, and how you became an entrepreneur?
Yeah, so I actually had my first business was, oh gosh, back in maybe 2005. I should look this up for whenever I'm talking about this stuff so that I know for sure. But I had an online, like an e-commerce luxury yarn site. So it was all, I was really into knitting. And at the time, this is like pre PCI compliance. This is pre Wix where you could just make a website. This is pre, GoDaddy having any kind of e-commerce thing.
Right.
And so what I did was I found this open source cart online. It's called Zen Cart. It still exists now. And basically like built my website for e-commerce from the ground up and figured out, all the things that I had to do to be associated with that. So it was like really still kind of the wild west of internet shopping at that point. I
Yes,
mean,
for sure.
Amazon hadn't even been around that long at that point, which is kind of crazy to think about. But yeah, so that was the first business, and I ended up selling that and kind of getting out of that just because my passion changed. And looking back on that, it was a mistake to give that up. But hindsight's 2020. But it led me to the business I'm in now, which I actually am very much more passionate and very much more like a match for what I've been about my whole life, which is health and wellness. As you mentioned, I've kind of been in this space now for 25 years. My degree is in psychology. I have a minor in addiction studies. I have some graduate training in psychology as well. And then I've just been always focused on health and wellness. I've been a runner, a yoga instructor for 12 years, have been practicing yoga for 25 years. So it's just always been something that has been a huge part of my life. And so now to have a business that is centered around sharing all of that is really a much better match for my passion than, even though yarn and knitting was great at the time, this is a much better match for me now.
Yeah. Well, kudos to you for even figuring that out, like back in the day when there really weren't online tools to, well, maybe there were, but I don't think so, to help you through
Wasn't
all
the
that.
same.
So,
It
no,
was
yeah,
kind of
that's
crazy.
yeah, that's pretty cool. So, how about we talk about physical health first, and then we can move on to mental health. So, why is our physical health so critical to the success of a business?
Well, I'm going to say the most obvious one first, and that is energy.
Mm,
Because as you know, if you are an entrepreneur, you've got your hands, especially when you're starting, you've got your hands in everything. Your time is not your own. It's kind of like work 24/7. That's all you're focused on because you're so excited about your new business. You're so, and or even your existing business, which you should be, right? Like once it's going, you still have to really, keep doing all the things that are necessary to keep the business going.
Yeah.
And so obviously having good physical health, having good sustainable energy is really a key component to being successful in your business. Because if you're just tired all the time or not feeling good or you get sick a lot, all of that means over time is it's just taking away more energy from your business. When if you took some time for yourself to do the physical practices that you know you need to do to be healthy, whether that's meditation, yoga, exercise, eating properly, those things all do take some time. But if you prioritize those first and do those, ultimately it actually gives you your time back, because you're not losing time to burnout. You're not losing time to physical sickness. You're not losing time to, you just don't have the energy to get what you need to get done in the day for a business. So I think that, it's really easy to go down this road of being so focused on your business that you neglect these other things because you're just pouring your energy into the business all the time. But all it does is take away your physical energy if you don't give yourself time to refeed that. So that's why I think it's absolutely critical. And I've seen it in, CEOs that I've worked for in the past. And there's two very distinct styles. There's people that take care of that stuff and they're very high functioning and really successful. And then there's the ones that don't take care of those aspects. And you can see it. You can see it not only in the business, but you can see it in them physically.
Mm-hmm. And for all the young mamas out here who might have kids that are off to school, and when they come home, it's like, okay, I guess I got to stop working on my business. I got to take care of the kids again. And you have those precious 6 hours or so that they're away at school, and you've got 6 hours to focus on your business. And you're like, okay, do I really want to take half an hour and cook myself a healthy lunch? Should I run to the gym for an hour? Because that's an hour and a half out of my day. But what you're trying to say is, heck yes, that's what you're supposed to do. And in turn, it's going to pay itself and give you more energy and less burnout. It's a good point you're making. Very smart. Okay, so what happens to our business when our mental health is not at its peak?
Oh my gosh, it makes it hard to get out of bed in the morning, right? You start to lose your passion for what you're doing. So I think this has never been more obvious than it's been probably in the last 2.5, 3 years because of everything that's going on in the world.
Right.
There's a lot of additional stressors on people. And it really has been affecting people's mental health. I mean, one of the stats on my podcast recently, I interviewed somebody that she ended up going alcohol free a few years ago, and now she helps people do that. And one of the things that happened during the pandemic is, instead of finding kind of healthier behaviors and ways to manage the additional stress of a pandemic, people started drinking a lot more. Like alcohol sales were through the roof. And so not only does that take a toll on your physical health, but alcohol does also affect you mentally. And even if that is not your coping mechanism, even if you have these additional stress of the world the last couple of years, it also takes away from your physical energy. They're so related that you almost can't separate one from the other. Excuse me. And so when you take care of physical and mental health at the same time, they actually feed on each other. So one of the best things that you can do for your mental health, based on research, is exercise. It's more effective than Prozac. It's more effective than any pill that you take is to move your body.
Right.
So you can kind of get the bang for your buck by doing both.
Right.
Because when you're mentally clear, you're eating well, and you're not foggy all the time, and you're not overly stressed, you're able to think of ideas for your business more clearly. You're able to execute on the plans that you've come up with, that you've created, because that execution part is probably like 90%, right? You have all these good ideas, but unless you can execute, it doesn't really matter.
Right.
So you got to have the energy to do that.
So we're back to the fitness again. Back to the fitness. Okay.
Well, it affects everything, as people know, and people have seen it, again, more prominently.
Mm-hmm.
You neglected your health before. You're pre-diabetic, you're diabetic, you're overweight. Guess what? You're like 90% more likely to have very poor outcomes from, not only the disease that we're dealing with right now, but multiple other diseases. But it's becoming much more clear now in the data how having poor health is related to this poor outcome of this thing that your body's never seen before. Mm-hmm. So I think it just adds a lot of clarity to this whole point around being healthy for your business, being healthy for the people in your life, allowing you to actually reach your goals when you're healthy. When you're not healthy, you can't help anybody. So it doesn't make any sense.
That's true. That's a very good point. So what would be some ways that entrepreneurs can take care of their wellness?
So some of the things you mentioned obviously are really good, but I think time is a factor. We can't get around it. When you're running your own business, and especially in the beginning, things are busy. You need more hours in a day if you can create them, right? So that idea of going to the gym, like if that's what you love and that's what you're passionate about, then I mean, absolutely do that and make time for that. But you can do a lot of these things without ever leaving your house. You can still take care of your mental and physical health just by doing body weight exercises, going for a walk around the block, getting outside in the sun, actually putting your feet in the grass. There's some real, it sounds very like hippy dippy woo woo, but like grounding is actually really important. And like we weren't designed as humans to like be in the house all day. We were designed to be in nature. Mm-hmm. So just really simple things like that, taking your coffee, take that extra 5 to 10 minutes to take your coffee out on your patio or your outdoor space in the morning and just take some deep breaths, connect with nature, look at the birds. I mean, it sounds so silly, but literally you can just take that 10 minutes at the beginning of your day and it sets a whole different tone to be much more productive, to be much more focused, all of those things. So I think, saying that you don't have time, you're doing yourself a disservice because you're not able to function at the level that you would be able to and to accomplish so much more if you ignore those things. And again, like you can do it in a way that it doesn't take so much time out of your day because I mean, I've been a long time yoga practitioner and now I mainly just do it at home. Like in the past, when I did have more time at times, I would go to the studio. But like you said, it's like by the time you go, you have to shower, all that. It takes a lot of time out of your day. Where when you do these things at home, it's a lot easier to, do something and then go back to work and then take little breaks throughout the day, which is also better for your mental health and better for productivity. So it all really kind of relates well. I mean, again, I'm not saying not go to the gym if that's what you love. Absolutely do that. But don't use time as an excuse, I guess is my point to that. You can always squeeze it in, especially if you're doing it at home.
And you know what? I'm so glad I'm talking to you right now. I think I really me personally, I needed to hear this conversation. It was yesterday or the day before. It was about 7 o'clock at night. The kids were busy. They're happily playing something. And I had about an hour until another meeting. I had an 8 o'clock meeting because of time zone stuff, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, okay, what can I do? What can I do? All right. And I'm looking for stuff to do. And I'm like, Carrie, go make yourself a tea. Go on the patio and put your feet up. And that's exactly what I did for a full hour. I don't do that. And it was wonderful, like just some time to unwind and just it was so important for me to do that. And it was such a simple gesture, but I was really it was fantastic. And what about those little treadmills that you can throw underneath a desk? Do you have any experience?
Yes, yes, I did. Did we first talked? Wasn't I on mine? Yes. Okay. And so I could actually give people links for this, but I was telling Carrie that I just did this like during this whole like working from home. Like I had always worked from home for a long time, but my husband did not. Well, now he's working from home and he's on the phone all day and all my work all day is like writing and very focused work. So I had to unfortunately put a desk in my bedroom, which I do not recommend. That is a very bad idea, but it's the only place it could go. But what I did was I got, and they are both relatively inexpensive on Amazon. It was a desk that's adjustable height. And then I got a small treadmill that it's not a very powerful one. Like you really wouldn't run on this treadmill, but you can walk slowly as you're doing your work. And it's really good. I mean, I type on there all the time. Some people don't like that or it's like a little distracting. But it's wonderful for meetings. Like, for example, if we were colleagues and we were just having a meeting, like a catch up like this, or we were working on whatever, and we didn't need to be on the computer the entire time.
Right.
It's wonderful to have walk and talk meetings. Yeah. And if you can't be outside to walk and talk, which I highly recommend, if it's where you do need to be on your computer a little bit, that walking desk or having a treadmill desk is super handy for that. And I do realize there's a cost obviously involved with that, but I looked at it as an investment in my business, an investment in my personal health. So for me, it was worth it. And with the sales I found on Amazon, I was able to do it for, I think, under $400. So it's not an amount of money that's like a crazy amount. Yeah. Certainly you can have fancier setups, but I went for the bare bones. So
yeah. And you said walk and talk. So I never thought about that, having meetings while on the phone. It's a great use of time, and as long as you don't need to see the person, because that's dangerous walking like this. But if you're just like this or have your headphones in, I think that's brilliant. That's really smart. And so we've talked about physical health, we've talked about mental health. How about nutrition? Why would nutrition be so important for entrepreneurs, especially?
Because of the clarity, because of the way your brain functions. And I know that everybody has experienced this in your life. You eat lunch and then all you want to do is nap for the rest of the afternoon, right? That doesn't allow you to be very productive. And I have a bias, obviously. My whole website is about advanced nutrition, which to me is considered low carb because just what I've learned over the years of studying this, all the benefits that it gives, all the science behind it. One of the things that people say about it the most is the amazing amount of mental clarity you get when your body is running on ketones. And so for me, as a main part of my job, writing all day, I have just found that that way of eating has made me not only so much more productive, just so much more able to like be really clear in my thinking, which is when you're doing things like writing books or writing a long article trying to basically like convince somebody how they can have this impact on their health.
Yeah.
You need to, it's a process, and it's a process that requires some logical extended periods of really planning, thinking, writing. And hey, when your brain is running on ketones, it just makes that so much easier. Because I think also, as we get older, particularly as women, and your hormones start to shift, there's, people associate perimenopause and menopause with brain fog quite often.
Right.
And that is one of the beautiful things about eating low carb is you get this metabolic shift that creates these changes in the way that your body uses energy, and your brain loves ketones. And so the clarity and the improved thinking that you get with nutrition, I think, is unparalleled for a simple hack that you can do for your business that you don't have to like do any investment in. You just change the way you eat. Of course, if you wanted to invest, you could get my book that gives you the science behind it and like how to do it. But honestly, you can find most of that stuff for free too on my website. Like I give away a ton of free information, the beginner's guide to keto, how to get started with it. I have a free getting started with keto resources guide. So for absolutely free, you can get started with this and make a huge impact on your business just because of your ability to think more clearly, which is as sad as that is to say. Plenty of people go around just like in a haze all day just because they've got this sugar high, and then they crash and they have no energy, and then
Right.
they want to sleep all the time. So it's, to me, it's a real game changer that can significantly impact your business.
Hmm. Yeah, you definitely feel the way that you've been eating. If you eat like crap, you're gonna feel like crap, and it's such a simple concept,
Right.
right? But as entrepreneurs, we're really freaking busy, and so sometimes we don't always make the smartest choices with nutrition. And I'm guilty of it. I'm sure you are. Some days you must have some days that you that you cheat, but absolutely, nutrition's super important. So how can we avoid burnout?
Ah, well, I think it's taking those breaks. I think the breaks are critical because I have sprints where I go through like writing 2 books within a year was kind of a crazy thing to do. So I was pretty focused. But one of the first things after I turned in the manuscript for the second book, the grain free cookbook, I just like took a week where I did nothing. Now, not every business could function like that. I understand that, but you could certainly, schedule some lighter times in your day, or push some meetings into the following week or whatever it is, where you go in these intense spurts. And I feel like the reason I'm able to do that is because of the good nutrition, because the good, like, still, even when it's in intense spurts, I still always do my exercise for the day, or I'm walking and writing on my little treadmill desk that you pointed out. So I think that and also the importance of, and again, this is like a pandemic related thing, but mental health and the importance of seeing friends and seeing people. I think that to the extent that you feel safe doing that and that you can do it, it's so important, because I think one of the things related to burnout too is just like feeling isolated and starting to feel depressed.
Hmm.
And when you don't have a good social support system, you're much more likely to feel like that. And I think the pressures of work can really overcome that situation and make you have that feeling of feeling burned out. Whereas if you're feeling vibrant in other areas of your life, like taking care of your social needs, taking care of your physical needs, it just all wraps together in a way that will not only propel you in your business, but just like propel you in your health, and to help keep you sane and healthy and not burn out. Because if you just keep going 90 miles an hour and you never take care of yourself, it catches up to you. You can do it for a while,
Yes.
but
Yeah.
it does catch up to you.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, I have one more question for you. So,
Okay.
what is the best way that we can learn more about implementing some of these best practices into our lives?
Well, like I said, the website has tons of free information, healnourishgrow.com. There's going to be information on there about physical wellness. There's information about mental wellness. There's obviously information about changing your diet. I have a getting started with keto guide, totally free. That's, again, kind of just lays it out for you. Like, how do I start even approaching this? I mean, people tend to way overcomplicate it. It's really just eating a whole foods-based diet. Don't eat anything out of a package. If you do that and you don't even go keto or you don't go low carb, you'll be like 80% better off if you can do that. And to your point, like, people are busy. Having things on hand that, for example, I have these a meal service, frozen meals. It's not my favorite thing. I love to cook, and that's part of my job is, recipe development.
Right.
But if I'm really busy like that, like you just said, like today I was rushing around and I had these 2 interviews this afternoon. I finally got back home at 1:30 because I had a couple appointments outside the house. I got back and I hadn't eaten yet, so I just threw this thing in the microwave. It's not my favorite thing to do, but literally in 5 minutes, I had a healthy, low-carb keto meal that I had on hand, and it got ate, and then came back down here to get back to work. So,
Yeah.
so the busy thing, I definitely completely understand that, but there are some strategies to mitigate that, and there's also there's a meal prep episode on my podcast where you can kind of talk about meal prepping for the week so you don't run into those problems. So I think the whole website supports all of these sorts of ideas about how to take care of your physical and mental wellness. And then if you're really interested in the diet specifically, my book is definitely a great resource for that, because even, again, if you decide never to go keto, it's going to give you some great information on why you might at least want to try it, like for those brain benefits that I was describing. I think that's really important in relation to business. And then also just like all the physical health benefits, the science backed, all the I think there's 75 or 80 citations at the end of the book. That's all the, the research studies and stuff. So you're just going to learn a whole lot, even if you don't go all the way to like super low carb or keto. I think you'll still get a lot of concepts in there. Cause also talk about fasting. You can do fasting without even changing how you eat, but that also has a huge impact on your mental clarity and the way that you feel. So that's a good resource, and it's not not very expensive. It's like a $10 Kindle investment. So.
Yeah, not bad. Not bad. And we're going to have the link on this page here so that everybody can click on it and get right to your site and get all that good information. And so you've got a free gift for everybody. You've called it Wellness Tips for Entrepreneurs Guide. So yes. What are they going to get with that?
Probably a lot, actually, of what we talked about today. Some bullet points on some ideas for daily practices that you can implement that don't cost a lot of money or a lot of time. So things like meditation, some yoga stretches, basically a collection of my resources that I'm putting together, especially in a way that, like, me as an entrepreneur myself, if I'm looking at my habits, and I do try to practice what I preach, I'm not always perfect, but, putting together, like, what do I do on a daily basis that's important to really, do some of these concepts. And so I think there will be a little bit on, try an intermittent fast, just extending that period a little longer, see if you get that mental clarity. There'll be the meditation stuff, the stretches, the grounding, a lot of the stuff we talked about already, but just with some resources that you can either easily click to look something up if you want more information, or click onto a video of how to do this short meditation and why you might want to try that. So it'll just be a nice little collection of resources for everybody.
That sounds awesome. And you've also got a bonus that you're offering for everyone who has upgraded to be a VIP. And so we're filming this in June, but in July it's becoming available to the public. Is that right? The 21-day fat loss kickstart, make keto easy, take diet breaks.
This one's available right now. Yeah,
that one. Okay, now. That's the one. Okay, so
yes.
Tell us about this one.
So basically, this is what I just said, how to get into it, how to get into fasting. There's a 21-day protocol in here for maximum fat loss. It was a little bit sneaky of me because I really just want to educate people on like feeling better and getting healthier. But I know everybody has this desire to like lose weight fast. So even though I don't recommend that, what I do recommend in this 21-day thing is doing the protocol and then you take a break. That's not something that's talked about a lot in the dieting world, but it not only helps you mentally, like there's a theme here, right? Mentally and physically to take a break because it keeps your metabolism going, gives you a break from that mentality. But it's also just like working then on new habits during that time. That's your break. It's not like you're going crazy. You're just being a little less strict, but you're maintaining, you're implementing these new habits, and gives you time to practice. Like a lot of diets don't talk about that. Like people are like, well, what do I do after I do it? go back to what I was doing, that's not going to serve you very well.
Right.
Yeah, so I think, didn't we say we were going to do like 10 for the first 10, or are you going to give them in a raffle? I don't know. I'll let you
It's
decide that part.
totally
But
up to you. It's totally up to you. I can, I'll include it on the page here after the interview, unless you've got an idea right now. But if you need to figure that out, that's fine. And then your other book that's coming out in July, what's that one called again?
so this one is the Grain-Free Cookbook for Beginners, your essential guide to grain-free living. Also, all sugar-free, keto-friendly, and dairy-free options as well. So this was quite a challenge to get these recipes, but they're all tested and delicious. I can promise that. So whether you're like want to go grain-free or keto or any of that stuff, they're all really yummy recipes. This is actually one of my favorites. It's a cauliflower crust pizza that's on the front, but
Oh, that sounds good.
yeah, and they're all relatively quick too. Most of the recipes, actually all of the recipes will say if it's quick, if it's easy, if it's one pan, if it's one of those that's like worth the wait, that means it takes longer than 30 minutes. But they're still pretty quick.
Oh, that's good. That's a smart way to do it. That's awesome. Is there any like a final thought you'd like to leave with everybody today?
Not really. Like, I know it's hard. It sounds all simple to just say eat better and exercise and do all this stuff. But I think really if you work on identifying your why, that's one of the things that I talk about a lot. And I have a whole page on my website about what's ultimate wellness. Whatever ultimate wellness is different for every single person. But what is important is to like put some thought into that for yourself, figure it out in relationship to your business, in relationship to your family, and to like the legacy that you're trying to create, what you want to leave, basically your imprint on the world with your business. And then you want to mold your goals to all around that, so that everything that you do on a daily basis, you know why you're doing it. Like for example, for myself, I have a ton of cancer in my family, and I've had tumors. I had 16 tumors in my body that got taken, like, luckily none cancerous, but a lot of health issues in my family and a lot of cancer. And so one of my personal whys, and this is maybe makes it easier for me because it's so like crazy, right? So
Right.
difficult, but it's like why why I choose to do an extended fast every single month is to promote autophagy, to possibly prevent cancer. Why I eat like this every day, it's to hopefully prevent cancer. So, and it's not because, I mean, yes, of course I just want to live a long life, but I want to live a long enough life to be around, for grandkids, and to be able to change people's lives, to share this information with them so that they can experience greater health. And if I don't do the things that I need to do to keep myself healthy, then I can't accomplish any of that. So I think once you identify those whys, that really feeds into making these decisions better every day. Because every time I think, oh, I really don't want to do my extended fast, I just like look at my picture of my dad that's in my hallway, that's like his, marathon medals and whatever. And then I just remember, like, this is why I'm doing this, because I don't want to end up having cancer, even though,
Right.
so I don't know. I think that's just identify your why would be the
Yes.
key. And that's going to help you do all this stuff a lot easier.
Yes, I think that's an excellent point, and it's going to be different for everybody. Everyone's going to have a different reason, but you got to dig deep and figure that out, and then that'll be enough motivation for you to do it. And if
Definitely helps.
someone wants to reach out to you, I know we've got all the links here, but what is your favorite place to hang out? Where do you like to hang out for socials?
I, love it or hate it, Instagram is kind of my main channel. I just love the photos and stuff. It's changed a lot though, and I'm kind of annoyed with it lately, to be honest. But that is where it, if you're looking for like day-to-day ideas about just like how to live healthier, or little tips and tricks, or like what do you eat when it's a day that you're super busy and you don't know what to eat, like I usually put my food on there, and recipes and all that kind of stuff, obviously. So that's where to find me. But hey, you can email me or just go to my website or whatever. Any of those work.
Okay, sounds good. Well, thank you so much for your time, Cheryl. It was a pleasure to have you, and you get back on that treadmill.
Sounds good. Thanks again for having me.
All right, bye-bye.